The Indian digital story has been nothing short of a revelation. From the Aarogya Setu app, helping the country to combat the COVID pandemic, to the direct benefit scheme, keeping the most disadvantaged citizens afloat. India's digital systems and technology have garnered praise from governments and organizations throughout the world. Join us as we explore how India was able to bring its vast population to the digital age by developing systems so stable and reliable that they are serving as a template for the rest of the world. Digital India is a force to be reckoned with. Whether it is through the efficient transfer of funds at the individual level or the massive distribution of government assistance to the most vulnerable, Digital India has virtually revolutionized many aspects of society. India's digitization of data enabled the country to fight the COVID pandemic without chaos, from contact tracing to organizing and implementing the vaccine drive.
We have a financial digital stack, we have a health digital stack. And I think one of the most impressive digital stacks that we actually developed during COVID was the digital database that we developed for both vaccination and RT-PCR testing. So I think all this actually helped us to manage the pandemic very efficiently.
The global financial body, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank both heaped praise on India's direct benefit scheme, which has been a seamless, transparent digital medium that has supported society's most economically disadvantaged, especially during trying times in the face of the pandemic. India's direct benefit scheme is being recognized as a model for other emerging economies for more effective targeting of beneficiaries of subsidy programs. How has India, a country with such a vast population, able to digitize so efficiently and successfully? In 2009, the National Payments Corporation of India took over the ATM network in order to modernize retail payments and settlements. This milestone was followed by the biggest technological breakthrough in India's digital journey, the establishment of the Unique Identification Authority of India, or UIDAI. India had previously faced many challenges with a significant portion of the population lacking any legitimate identification. The UIDAI created a biometric database of its population, based on a 12-digit digital identity known as Aadhaar, verified by fingerprints and retina scans.
If people want to open a bank account, brokerage account, tomorrow a pension account, insurance account, they don't have to do paperwork. It is frictionless, paperless. It creates a digital infrastructure for everything else to follow on top of that. So it is the basic digital public good on which other private entities can come and play. So for example, if a road is a public infrastructure, the car traveling on it might be private. Similarly, for the digital world, it gives every Indian a unique ID, and therefore he or she can then avail of all kinds of public and private services.
By 2022, over 1 billion Aadhaar authentications were done by UIDAI. In 2021, UIDAI had claimed to have completed Aadhaar identification of 99% of Indian adults, a massive feat considering India is home to nearly 17% of the world's population. With the Aadhaar program in place, the government was able to implement the ambitious financial development policy, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, with an aim to provide all households in India with a bank account. In just 1 year, 166 million people had opened accounts as part of the program. Prior to the successful implementation of both programs, many millions of Indians were unable to open a bank account as they did not possess any ID. The Aadhaar card solved that. Now, government payments could be paid directly into bank accounts, and beneficiaries had easy access to their money via debit cards or smartphones. Both these programs demonstrated the remarkable acceleration of conventional financial development in the country. These groundbreaking developments fall under the umbrella of a unique cyber India stack system, the ambitious creation of a digital infrastructure to resolve issues in many areas, including governance, businesses, startups, and many more. The key components of this digital infrastructure involve a consensual agreement to develop presenceless, paperless, and cashless layers. The availability and access to bank accounts made it possible for the impoverished to receive aid efficiently and effectively, and also enabled individuals and businesses to conduct transactions without the need for in-person interactions. Because of these advances, Indians across the country, whether in the informal or formal economy, can safely transfer funds anywhere with just a few taps on their mobile phones. The acceleration of digital payments, facilitated by the creation of this unique digital India stack, have been key drivers of the economic development in India, helping stabilize incomes in rural areas and boost sales in the informal sector. India leads all other countries in terms of daily digital payment volume. Having become the trendsetter in many of the digital domains, India is expected to propose the creation of a robust digital architecture when it assumes the G20 presidency. The digital arm of Brand India is poised for rapid expansion, increased investment, and increasing respect and admiration on a global scale.
Prime Minister Modi was correct when he said that this is not an era of war. I believe that ending Russia's war is a moral imperative.
Prime Minister Modi, when speaking of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, stated that this is not an era of war.
आज का युग युद्ध का है नहीं.
The US Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, emphasized the same during her recent visit to India. She also added that Modi's stance was the dominant view of policymakers in the backdrop of a protracted Russia-Ukraine war. Earlier, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and the UN General Secretary, Antony Guterres, had also supported Prime Minister Narendra Modi's stance and his advice of peace to President Putin, and had urged both sides to cease all forms of aggression. India has vowed to maintain only one position, which is that of peace. India has time and time again mentioned, on all platforms across the world, that the needs of its citizens and world peace are its top diplomatic priorities. It is because of this pro-peace attitude that India has been able to retain friendly relations with both the West and Russia during a time when the world has become increasingly polarized and divided. In his recent visit to Russia, a confident Jaishankar, the Indian foreign minister, said that India will continue to buy Russian oil, for it was advantageous to Delhi and its people.
It is our fundamental obligation to ensure that the Indian consumer has the best possible access on the most advantageous terms to international markets. And in that respect, quite honestly, we have seen that the India-Russia relationship has worked to advantage. So if it works to my advantage, I would like to keep that going.
Only days after Jaishankar's statement, in what could be called a major diplomatic Indian victory owing to its consistent pro-peace position, the US Treasury Secretary said in an interview to Reuters that India could buy as much oil as it wanted from Russia, as long as it avoided using Western service providers that were bound by the G7 price caps, which keep oil prices low but also squeeze Russian revenue from oil. The United States and its allies in the Group of 7 nations continue to take steps to prevent Russia from profiting from their oil supply by putting a cap on prices. However, this would not apply to India. Observers say that India is in position to quickly rise to prominence as a significant geopolitical and economic force. From under 2% prior to the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia's proportion of India's oil imports increased to an all-time high of 23% in September. Russia clearly appreciates India for its economy-focused and its own citizen-first diplomacy.
Посмотрим на Индию. Талантливый очень народ, целеустремленный, с таким с драйвом внутреннего развития. Он, конечно, добьется выдающихся результатов. Индия добьется выдающихся результатов в своем развитии. Сомнений никаких нет. И 1,5 почти миллиарда человек. Вот это потенциал.
Still heavily embroiled in the protracted war, Russia has stated its intention to leave Kherson City, the only regional capital it has taken control of since the war began in February. While some speculate that withdrawal will only be a temporary break for both sides to recover and resume fighting, there are a few optimists that do not expect the fighting in the region to resume. Leaders around the world are placing their hope in New Delhi, and many observers expect that when India assumes the G20 presidency, the war could see its final days. India has consistently been in favor of peace and in dialogue and diplomacy as its favored form of foreign policy. Now is the time for India to take its place as a global leader in this increasingly divided world.